pretty much just eating melons and dates and some avocados. That's what we're cultivating, the ease and aliveness. So the aliveness means you're moving with ease, but if you needed to, you could sprint for 300 meters.
What's your view on Brian Johnson? Hi, and welcome to this new episode of The Light Leaders. Today I'm with Ru Mackenzie, and we'll talk about ideal nutrition, movement of the body. I know you've been from carnivore to eating mainly raw vegans and lots of fruits. So we'll talk about that too, even though you don't like to label it too much and want to listen to the intelligence of the body. You're in really good shape, and you're eating in that way. So that's always something that's interesting for me as a young man who wants to be thriving. And we'll have that conversation. Welcome to the show. Quick question to start with: what are you grateful for today?
Just as I said before the show, grateful for you, brother, for creating this and having this platform to speak on. Grateful for life as well, just to be able to have this experience as a human. I'm very grateful.
Amazing, that's beautiful. And I'd love to start straight away with maybe a boring question to you too, but I know you have a lot of success on your social media with this post is, what do you currently eat in a day?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the how much people get so infuriated by the things that I eat, and other people are like really inspired by it. But yeah, it's just interesting to see why that's so interesting. But at the moment, I'm pretty much just eating melons and dates and some avocados and some grapes, just some very simple fruits, because I want to keep my body well hydrated because I'm in quite a warm environment. And yeah, my body asks for lots of hydration. And the perfect structure of hydration comes in fruit. And so the more like the watery the fruit, the more that I really enjoy, especially earlier in the day, get the body really hydrated and full of like this electrical energy that comes from the biophotons in the fruit. And then I eat a little bit heavier fruits like bananas and avocados, things like that, to still create the sustenance that the body needs. And that's pretty much it. I have chlorella and marine phytoplankton, and these are little microalgae that have all the essential minerals, essential fatty acids, and essential amino acids that the body needs outside of itself. So just make sure to cover all bases and keeping the cleanest, most electrically alive food coming into my system. And it's been a process. Like it's like this, and it's like this slow trajectory of knowing where I'm going, and that makes it a little bit easier to make those decisions throughout the day.
Amazing. Thanks, Ruth. So how long have you been on this kind of diet? And can you share a little bit of your evolution with diet?
Yeah, far out. How far back do I go? How far back do you want me to go? Like to
How
childhood
much is
or like?
relevant?
Okay. Well, growing up in New Zealand in a country town on a farm, eating like pretty decent, healthy food, and comparatively to today's standards, and that was like my normal. And then I really built a terrible relationship with food because I didn't know how to feel the feelings in my body. So I would eat to suppress feeling sensation. And what that did is it starts to manifest into illness and disease over time because I didn't really care what I was eating. But I was kind of getting away with it because I was so active with my lifestyle, playing sport so much. And so that led me into a very broken body. And I started to redevelop the relationship I had with my body. And what that looked like was going to the sauna a couple of times a week. It was asking my boss to do slightly less work in my 9 to 5 so I could go to the gym and go to like a wellness place for a day and let my body relax. It was building a different relationship with myself. And the food was a part of that. It was like, how could I eat different foods that could support my health as well? And so I started listening to different people that I was inspired by that had a similar lifestyle that I wanted to live. People like Ben Greenfield, you may have heard of, like a
Yeah.
biohacker. I really needed a lot of the science, and he was like a great inspiration for me. So I started eating more clean through that guidance. And then it became even more refined. So that was like getting off all the processed stuff and just eating more whole foods. And then it became more refined to just the animal based diet, basically, what Paul Saladino and these guys talk about. And I think it's a beautiful stepping stone. I think it's a really great way of getting people away from these horrible foods that we're putting into our system. Well, they're not horrible, they're just really suboptimal. They're not helping the body to regenerate itself or to bring more life into it. And from that, my body started. It was definitely a lot leaner, and it looked strong, but I was still quite functionally stiff, and I had pain in my neck, my lower back, my hips. Everything was still kind of inflamed and sore, and I had this like really bad fungal rash on my foot, and I couldn't get rid of it, even, no matter how like clean I was on that way of eating. And then I had this inner calling from my body to go towards lighter and more hydrating foods. And so I embarked on trusting that guidance, and it led me towards a woman that used to come to my beach meditation breathwork sessions. And I remember her, it was a few years ago, saying, or like before I even reached out to her, going like, "Oh, humans are frugivores," and she was doing like a 40-day watermelon fast, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this lady's nuts," and that was my mentality towards it at the time. So from that to where I am now, it's like a completely different reality. And so I trusted that. I used a herbal formula to pull the mucoid plaque out of my system, out of the small intestine. And that just allowed the body to drain the inflammation, but also absorb the nutrition. So it was a combo of the fruit and the herbs. And it was initially just as a cleanse, and then it continued on because that was now where my heart was drawing me. And it's just been trusting that. For a period when I was back in New Zealand, I went and ate some meat when I was at home, and that sort of confirmed that that's not where I was wanting to go, just because that fungus came back in my feet, and I could feel it, clogging up my internals again. So just being very honest with the experience and the feedback that my body is giving me is how I've gone from that heavy carnivore-based diet to a more like fruity, high hydration way of eating.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. And when was that, when you were more on the carnivore? How long ago?
It's only a couple of years ago, so probably like 2022,
Interesting.
and then
Yeah, I'll
that
share for the
transition
sake of
happened
this
after that.
conversation. Okay. Yeah, for the sake of this conversation, I'll share also a little bit of my journey. I grew up in France, normal way to eat, normal. And then about 7 years ago, I started transition to being mostly vegan, mainly based on ethical reasons. And also I was a bit before that, I was getting into health and the biohacking and Ben Greenfield and the keto and all this, but then I went a little bit more vegan. And then 3 years ago, that's when I also became more raw vegan, especially I was living in Bali by then. And the past 3 years, yeah, being mainly raw vegan, but also wanting to keep that active lifestyle, uh, be fit and not be necessarily on the cliche of the, let's say, skinny hippie style raw vegan or fruitarian. And yeah, very interested in this topic. And I also want to rebound on something you shared that I really like, which is, sometimes we get very identified with a label and a certain way to eat. And I like that you try to rely more on the intelligence of the body. And as part of it, what you shared with the carnivore diet is something I feel too, is that between a raw vegan and a carnivore, there's actually much more in common. And often there is a lot on social media of like one criticizing the other. but both of them challenged the status quo of the processed food. Both of
Mm-hmm.
them really looked into, okay, how can I do things differently and align with my
Mm,
body? And sure, ended up on places, but I feel actually they're much closer to each other in
bro,
many
that's a
ways. So I love
beautiful
that.
way to put it. Beautiful, beautiful way to bring it together. It's like it doesn't. We're not fighting each other here. We're trying to support the human body the best we can, and we're doing that from the information that we've gathered. We're doing that from the things that we've been exposed to. But the best thing is your body, your own lived experience. If you try both of them, then you have 100% solid evidence. If you're very honest with the feedback that your body is giving you. If you're attached to the label,
Yeah.
you ignore the body and you'll go, oh, look at this fucking peer reviewed article. It's like, trust your body, but you have to be super honest.
Yeah, and actually, I also had like about 5 years ago, I did a little experiment. I was going to a gym in Bali, and they were like, "Oh, try carnivore, try eating meat. You'll feel so much better instantly." I was vegan like you, and so I did a week eating steak every day, and for me, it didn't. I didn't feel stronger or anything. So I was like, okay, moving on. But also, I do respect when people tell me, yeah, I really wanted to be raw vegan. I felt really bad and now I'm having this meat and I feel so much better. I'm like, if that's your experience, I'm not gonna invalidate that. So I definitely have for me, my mind has very strong preference, ethically, logically. And then I'm kind of blessed that so far it looks like my body is following that. So there's not so much conflict. But if I was them and I was seeing all the things going not well, I would definitely consider it. So I think it's good to be open minded this way. And sometimes the vegan and raw vegan fruitarian communities can feel very judgmental.
Yeah, man. It's and that's not the message. That's not why we do these things. We do these things so that we can get beyond judgment. Because when the body's functioning its best, it is connected and in synchronicity and with harmony with all of its environment, and that's all people, no matter their views. So it's getting beyond these label attachments and like what's the real message under that? We're wanting a healthy system so that it can connect with each other and have compassion for one another.
Beautiful. And so I'd love to expand it a little bit from the diet to more lifestyle in general. Like, do you have other things that are pillars of your health?
Yeah, rest gets so overlooked, and it's like the greatest super drug available. If the body is still and you breathe slow, it's going to regenerate itself. If we're constantly like burning it until we get sick or until we've got absolutely zero in the tank, that's when we start to break it down. But if we can rest it and feel like we're getting up each day full of life, full of energy, that's where we want to get to. And that comes from learning rest hygiene, learning how to be still,
Mm.
learning how to relax and breathe slow. Um, so rest would be a big part of my 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 thing. And the best way that we can rest is it's not actually laying flat on our back. If we lay on our back here, and then this is a couch, okay, you put your
Mhm.
legs up on the couch like that. So you got your waist at 90 degrees and your knees at 90 degrees. And that's going to take all tension out of the body. It's fully, it can go fully limp and all of the tension out of the spine as well. And so 30 minutes of that is like 4 hours of sleep. It's a really powerful exercise. And if you can do it every day for 14 days in a row at roughly the same time, I think it's really good just before you go to bed. Um, it, it's like a full nervous system reset. We used to give it to all of our practitioners that were becoming breathwork and meditation facilitators. And it was a great way to just get them more present and more at ease in their body. So that would be a huge tip for people you can just start doing today.
Oh, thank
And then,
you. I'll try that.
yeah, give that one a go, brother. I'd love to hear how you find it. Um, if there's anything else, it would be moving the body, so crucial to a healthy system. And for me, down at the ocean a few times a day as well, bare feet, much sun on the body as I can get, and that's about it.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that you keep it simple in that way. And there's someone I want to bring in the picture actually as you're talking about biohacking first, and now you talked about rest and the simple rest movement is Brian Johnson, because I
Yes.
know you probably heard of him.
Mhm.
He's in one way very aligned with like the
Mhm.
rest is primary and movement and eating. He eats vegan actually also, but he also takes all these pills and says himself, I don't trust my intuition, I just trust the science, comes at it very from the mind. So I'm wondering what's your view on Brian Johnson.
I think his heart is in the right place. He's wanting to support the body, but then there's it seems a little bit of a disconnect. But I feel his core message is really true to him. I'd love to chat with him. I'd love to have a conversation with that man. Um, but everything's metrics. But I believe the body's got the best metrics of it all. If you're honest, most people can't be honest with their body because it's so numb, and they're so disconnected from it. When you get really connected with your body, it has way more intelligence than the stuff that he's looking at. But I think it's really interesting. I have listened to some of the things that they do, and he talks about rest as well. He's like, rest is really important. I think that's his like number one pillar, and I resonate with that because we're in this world that's so fast, and these bodies actually want to go pretty slow most of the time. When the body is feeling at ease, it's not fucking walking around like this. It's moving slow with grace, with presence. And it does mean but there's an aliveness in there. That's what we're cultivating, the ease and aliveness. So the aliveness means you're moving with ease, but if you needed to, you could sprint for 300 meters on a single breath as hard as you could. Like that's what this body is capable of doing, or your body as well. It's like every system has infinite possibilities, um, but we really limit ourselves.
And thank you. I definitely resonate with that. And I love your balanced approach on Brian Johnson. Love that you share that you'd love to have a conversation. I would love to have a conversation too. And here I will share with you, but also with the viewer. Well, first, thank you so much for watching this episode of The Light Leaders again, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy and want to support. And also, I'm really enjoying doing this podcast. I'm really enjoying having conversation with you and some of the amazing podcasts I've done with people. I haven't had Brian Johnson yet. I think is it might be for in the future, but people like Dr. Morse, Spira, Doug Graham, like so many people who are leaders in that movement, and I could have those conversations with them thanks to having a podcast. So if you're watching this and you feel part of your purpose here is to have a podcast, to share your ideas, but also have conversations that you feel are empowering and important to have and share online, well, reach out to me because I've had my podcast for almost 7 years and I've started coaching people on it. I'll put a link in the description of this video, and I'd love to help you get started and grow and maybe even monetize a podcast that resonates with your soul and your purpose. And so, yeah, it's really nice to have those conversations. And by the way, there's different style. I like with you, Ru, that we can go into it also more in like a conversation, I feel like almost like a high consciousness conversation where we can just be authentic and not totally
Just
play
real,
on
bro.
the labels and things like
Yeah,
that. Just real, yeah. Exactly.
just real. Not high consciousness, just real. Yeah, and everyone's got that capability of just being real. It's the most powerful energy that we can exude in this world is that authenticity, that realness, and that sometimes reflects in the things that we eat and the things that we do. But it's uh, you know when you're being authentic and when you're being real, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's really my message.
I love that. I love that because even yeah, you're right. High consciousness can sound a little bit like actually unreal or trying to pretend or to be something. What I meant by that is avoiding the polarization that sometimes works so much online and on social media of being like this against that and trying to cut corners in that way. But
Yeah,
I
brother.
feel being real and being authentic is probably a very high consciousness thing to do, right? That's why we're here is to express our divinity through our singularity of being a human and have your uniqueness and through our bodies.
That's it, bro.
What are
And
some of
that's
your
the
favorite exercises
sorry,
for the body? What are some
dancing,
of your favorite exercises?
dancing, dancing's my favorite by far. Just moving to music, and that might look like I've gone real far into the movement and like creating perfect balance. You want your head over your foot, you want the spine oscillating, you want to create perfect balance, and it all starts in the feet. You want strong foundations in your feet and the fascial network, creating the tensegrity throughout the system. And if we can create a strong foundation, the body will start realigning itself and it gets rid of a lot of aches and pains and stuff just naturally. And the simplest thing you could do is just walk bare feet more often. And then you can get things like toe spaces, you start picking up things with your toes, you walk around on like sticks and things. But yeah, movement for me has gone from a very rigid gym, push things like straight and back and stuff, to being very fluid, being very alive. So sprinting, jumping, uh, but then I like just using the body as the instrument, as the gym, has been my approach more recently. And it's all about, sorry, last thing, because it's so important, is the nasal breathing when we're moving the body. We want to be able to breathe slow and at a calm rate where we're still in control while we're moving, while also like really resisting, but we can keep a calm state of being because that creates a greater capacity within our body to hold a safety, a stillness for yourself to be in and also others to be in.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
That's
these
my look on
practices.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love dancing too, ecstatic dances here in Bali. I actually have a podcast coming up soon with a friend of mine who's an ecstatic dance DJ, and I think it's very transformational for that. So thank you. I'd love to ask you also because you look really good, man. Like you feel good in your body, but you also look good, not like you're a huge bodybuilder, but in a natural state. What I've seen is a lot of people who are, let's say, on this kind of diet and look good sometimes or even often, maybe they were gym bros, eating a lot of meat, maybe even steroids, and then they switch to raw vegan and they become that strong raw vegan. But it feels more like a legacy potentially of what was before. So I'd love to ask you, do you feel you've been building muscles on that diet?
Yes, 100%. Because I know this for sure because I was about 92 kilos, pretty shredded, and I was still inflamed. But like this was before I started eating the fruit, and then I started doing the cleanse, and I got down to 76 kilos. So for me, at the beginning, it was all about just going to zero, cleaning the slate. And so that was a huge process, not just physically, but emotionally, letting go of this identity of being this big, strong dude. But it was like, and then I was like a twig. And then I have been able to put on 9 kilos, uh, and there's not a lot of fat in that. So I'm about 85, 86 kilos now from 76. And that's been on the fruit based approach using marine phytoplankton. So if you start looking at food in terms of energy instead of the micronutrients, that's when it all changes. It's a different way of looking at it. It's a completely different perspective, and they don't match. It's like they don't really match. If you just think of the body as energy, you want more life and energy in it. You give it like easily digestible energy, and that the best thing for that's
It's
fruit.
interesting. Yeah, and I love that you shared the marine phytoplankton. Actually, after my interview with Brian Mirabella,
Yeah.
a bit more than 2 years ago, I started taking marine phytoplankton too. And with these things, I think for me, maybe you're more sensitive, but for me, I don't know exactly if it helped this or that, but I just know it feels good when I have it. In the morning, I have it with coconut water, actually. I buy mine in Europe. It's called Plankton Holland, I think.
Hmm.
That's the brand. That was what he
Yeah.
recommended if I was in Europe. He has a different one for the US. And with coconut water, it just feels so good in my body.
Yeah.
That's slightly salt, also sweet, and I love it.
It's a full organism, and it's got all of those micronutrients in it that people want, and all the micronutrients, essential amino acids and fatty acids, and in a much the minerals are in a much finer size, so they can get into the cells more efficiently and give us that energy and those minerals that we're after. And that Holland one, that's one of the best qualities. And he's actually an Australian guy that set it up. I had a conversation with him last week, and he's creating an even more potent strain here in Australia. And they've just got it started recently. It's called Phyto Vitality. Vitality. Yeah, beautiful people as well running that.
Amazing. Thank you, Ru. I'd love to ask you also, what's your trajectory in your service? Do you do like many health coaching, and what do you want to take that?
Yeah, brother. So at the moment, I've refined pretty much everything with what I've shared from my side into 2 months. And so we learn how to connect with the body and ourselves. We learn that process in a very lived sense. We get to experience it. We also go through a deep cleanse of 2 weeks, and it's in a group setting. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I get is that community environment. People really enjoying the connections they build when they go on, a cleanse or a little journey like this, of getting to know themselves a bit deeper. And then we also ground it and create the strength and stability and the foundations for a strong, functional body. And that's all condensed into 2 months. It's like my foundations course or program.
No, that's amazing. Um, and we're all like light leaders, name of the show, on a mission here to create. Um, the world is perfect, and at the same time, it can be better. It's the paradox. What's your vision of a new Earth?
It's humans having peace and harmony within themselves, because then the external world reflects that. Until we've got that, nothing, nothing's happening. But the vision is that is a possibility.
I love that. That be the change you want to see in the world. And
Either
there's a
way.
lot of, I think it's the difference between being that and being like a more hardcore activist is the reason why I feel you and I choose more a path of focusing on the self, even though we also do our actions in the world, is that to me, once you in harmony and peace with yourself, as you shared, all the other things come naturally. Like if you feel so connected to animals, if you feel so connected to nature, if you feel so connected to the rest of humanity, you don't need any rules to, not trash nature or not mistreat animals or other people, because it just comes from you and what you want to do. And so naturally. So you don't need those rules and regulations and law. But yeah, it comes from the state of peace and harmony within. So thank you for helping people get that.
Mm. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it, brother. Yeah, I resonate with that a lot.
Have you ever worked with envisioning how that US looks like? Like I would imagine more nature, for example.
Yeah,
Do you want
all
to
the
expand
time,
on
brother.
this?
Yeah, it breaks my heart. Well, my heart, it's actually my biggest practice when I'm in these countries that, there's plastic burning and seeing the rivers filled with the rubbish. But it's a practice of loving it all. It's not meaning I need to accept that, but can I love the earth and where humans are at right now? That's the truth. And when I can come from there, then it's like, okay, right, what are the things that we could do to bring more ease and life back into Mother Earth, and how can we support her so that she can support us? And for me and my journey, it's connecting people within themselves, like you mentioned before, because when we do that, it's natural to love and care for the earth. Like you naturally will never throw rubbish on the ground because you walk on it on your bare feet. And so you want that ground just to be the earth. Little things like that is what reflects into the outer world, but it all starts by that connection with self, so that we see it in a different way.
Thank you, brother. And yeah, an analogy I really like that makes sense is you don't need to create laws for people to not cut their finger, because their finger, it hurts. Why would they cut it? You just don't. And then when you feel connected to yourself and to the earth, similarly, why would you trash it? It's an extension of you. You're connected to it. You don't want to do it, period. So I like that approach very
Mm.
much.
Yeah, brother. How do you
Yes,
see
being in
how do you see
Bali,
it? Yeah, Bali comes to
I
mind, but
see
I'd
it.
love to.
Yeah, I see it very much like more nature. And well, let's start with the things that I don't see there. I don't see war. I
Mm-hmm.
don't see the factory farming. I'm not sure. I don't say necessarily everyone's vegetarian or something, but at least the factory farming, I don't see it. I don't see the pollution of nature that we have at the moment. I don't see some of the treatment of women that we see and of other human beings. All these things I don't see. And so I see more nature. I see no pollution in nature. I see a way to treat each other as human with better communication, with more kindness. I see, I see treating animals as beautiful sentient beings with a lot of respect. I also see the power of nature integrated technology. So I'm a fan here in Bali on projects that also include uh, really like luxury natural environments that are integrated in nature. So to
Mm-hmm.
me, it's not necessarily like very tribal and just live in a hut in the middle of the forest. I also like the human art and
100%.
the human creativity, as long as it doesn't feel like it's against nature, it works in harmony with it and also in harmony with our human needs and yeah, and the beauty of it all.
Yeah, brother. Couldn't agree more. I,
So yeah,
I I love that integration. The integration of the two. It doesn't
yeah,
have to be one or the other. People are like, oh, fuck AI, fuck nature. It's like we're going to live together, and I think that's for our greatest potential. Like, if in terms of like visuals, yeah, I see like you're saying, beautifully designed architecture built into and with nature and working together to create these really beautiful environments. And the
mm,
like personally, what I see is like people getting the amazing fruit from the tropics, getting flown by drones to wherever they're living, things like that is what goes on in my head. Yeah, there's limitless potential. But what we have to remember is it's all happening now. It's like right here, now. This is when we create it.
yeah, it's always interesting that distinction of okay, I want to build a new house, but wait, how much is it already here? It's just a representation of my own state right now, you know, and not being living in the future. And it's an interesting dance to play with. I love that
Mm,
you brought AI also. I mean, as a podcaster, I'm just so grateful for AI doing so much work
mm,
that required a lot of editing and things like this. So, you know, also not against that technology. And to be even more concrete, I would say, yeah, I wake up in that beautiful, sacred, geometrical, nature integrated villa with my partner. I drink delicious juice. Well, I'm grateful for my juicer. That's great technology also. And
mm.
then, yeah, maybe I go in a waterfall and I can drink the water from the waterfall, which is definitely not what I do yet in Bali at the moment around Ubud. And then I would go to maybe, I would walk 200 meters barefoot on the grass, maybe pick a few fruits. And then there would be a shala with our community where we do yoga together and then have delicious food together, made of food from the earth. And then maybe also have a nice co-working and creativity space with podcasting studio where we inspire each other. So that's a bit what I see, an integration in nature of that modern life. And I wanted to give a little bit more details to that
Mm.
experience, and with sauna, ice baths, also all this.
Yeah, yeah, I resonate with all of that, bro. That sounds awesome. That sounds really good.
Amazing. Well, I guess that's what we're in the process of co-creating, and we'll see where that goes. In the present moment, already be very grateful and content with where we are and where we have. And thank you so much, Ru. I'm very grateful that you came today. Thank you also so much to all of the viewers that are still here with us. And so I hope you
Yeah,
enjoyed that conversation. Please, if you want to support, like, share, subscribe to the channel, and join the conversation. So leave a comment on the YouTube video. I read them all. I answer to all of them, and I really like people to join in. And I'll leave it to you, Ru, for if there's something else you'd like to share with our viewers.
that's all from me, brother. Just, yeah, I really appreciate the conversation. And for those that tuned in, um, yeah, appreciate having you here. And if you have any questions, just shoot me a message on Instagram or, yeah, in the comments, and I'll have a look at them as well.
Much love.